Howdy.
Howdy.
Come on. There you go. Fuck. Come on. Y'all can laugh. You can enjoy yourselves. This is what you're here for, right? You paid to come here. I want you to learn. I want you to enjoy yourselves. Have a good time. Talk. Ask questions. I feel that if you're laughing, you're enjoying yourself, you're really going to enjoy your time here. You're going to be more susceptible to absorbing and retaining the information given to you by the speakers, or maybe some other conversations that you had out, maybe downstairs, outside, last night, even tomorrow. Hopefully you just really just hold it in, because I know that there's so much good coming from this weekend. Before we start, who had a long night last night? There's a few of y'all, I know. Come on. Come on. Okay. We're going to play this game. Okay. I got it. Okay. Before I really kick off, I do want to bring something up that, how about this? There's a sergeant major. Him and his lovely wife are here. They shall be named or remain unnamed for the time being. The sergeant major once got up at the original seminar we called Raider Project Transition Seminar, I believe in 2017 or 2018, one or two. And I was like, all right, who's this guy? He's just some, no offense to him, please don't get mad at me, but I just saw some random old guy get on stage and just start talking. He wasn't scheduled. No one knew what was going to happen. I don't think anyone really knew what was going to be said, except for maybe Carl. And I was like, oh God. But then I found out this guy was from Delta. I was like, probably knows some things more than I do. I probably should shut my mouth and just listen. And instead of some crazy ass, I'm better than you, all of you are not good enough to be Delta, things like that, he goes something like this. I walked in here thinking that there would be a bunch of Marines, soldiers, airmen, sailors, with various branches, various MOSs, whether you're Delta, your infantry, security forces, your motor T, your cook, your reserves, your active duty, anything like that. All the egos were checked at the door. And I thought about that, I looked around, and it was just that. Egos were checked at the front door. Where are my Marines at? Put your hand up. If you don't, I'm going to call you out. Okay. Marines, few the proud, were pretty notorious for being arrogant and prideful, along with our corpsmen. Right, Dale? Thank you. We're notorious for being very prideful and arrogant of upholding the lineage for 246 years. Who knows a Marine could do math like that in their head? Actually, I wrote that down earlier, so. But with that being said, it was a gut check again. No egos. Who cares? Who cares what you did? You're here now. Now let's go forward. You did these great things maybe in the military and as a civilian, doesn't matter what, but you did these great things. Be proud of those things. I think you've earned that. Whether you're a title of Delta, you're a sergeant major, you're a private, doesn't matter. I think you should be very, very proud of what you have done in the military or as a patriot. Another guy who told me at a retreat in Colorado that is very much in line with that one sergeant major said, there's no reason to act tough. And I thought about that, and I was like, well, I'm a Marine. I have to act tough. You know, I have the biggest anatomy, or biggest male anatomy here. I have to be tough. What are you talking about? But I realized this guy, he came from MARSOC. MARSOC, I looked up to them because I felt like those guys have been through similar things I went through in the military as far as training. And then they decided to go further. Decided, just like education, right? Whether you're a veteran and you have a degree or you're in school right now. I looked up to these soft guys because I realized that they were regular infantry, and then eventually they made that transition over to the special operations community. So I was like, you know what, maybe I should shut my mouth and listen. Because it wasn't some event planner that was talking about basically, hey, let's put this retreat together. No. It was a couple of Marines, a couple of my own, that put on this badass retreat, and it was nothing but Marines there, and one Ranger, I guess, and maybe a couple other non-Marines. Non-Marines, that's a new term, NM, non-Marine. I'm just kidding. Again, y'all can laugh. Enjoy yourselves. There you go. Come on, warm up. Some of y'all might be a little hungover. Some of y'all might just be waking up. It's okay. Suck down that coffee and just go ahead and enjoy yourselves. But when he said that to our whole entire crowd, there's no reason to act tough. I was like, this guy is ridiculous. That's the whole part of being a Marine, is to act tough and look tough and be tough and do things right. But I realized that I understood more of what he was saying. we've all proven ourselves and earned the title of U.S. Marines. All of us there at that retreat understood that we were in combat, and we've proven ourselves in combat. Some of us have picked up our best friends and put them on a helicopter. Some of us might have seen our buddy get hit. Some of us ourselves might have been injured in combat, in the military, or just doing something out in town. But when he said that, don't act tough, you've already proven yourself, that was a gut check. Because at that time, I felt like I wasn't adequate. I felt like I didn't belong. I felt like I wasn't worthy. Felt like I wasn't good enough. How many of us have ever felt like that in our lives? There you go. Put your hands up. Yeah, a few of y'all. Okay, cool. So before we continue, I know some of us might have had a long night. Some of us our heads might be in different places right now. So I would ask you to do this for me. I want everybody to just sit back in their chair, hands on your knees, palms up. Traditionally at our seminars, VetXpo, I believe the spiritual speaker goes through a quick meditation, a guided meditation process. That's what I'm going to do with you right now. It's only 2 minutes, don't worry. We're not going to whip out the yoga mats and get into some crazy vinyasa or anything like that, or ebb and flow. But I want you right now to listen to this music. Focus on your heartbeat, focus on your breathing, and just close your eyes. All you're doing right now is just breathing. Deep, slow, deliberate breaths. Be intentional. Clear your mind. Keep breathing. Deep breaths. You can touch your thumbs to your fingertips slowly to keep you a little alert and your mind clear. Deep breaths. You put your mind through a lot, working, being in a family, taking care of somebody, maybe things you experienced in the military. Give your mind and yourself some love. Deep breaths. Slow and deliberate. Two more deep breaths. One more deep breath. Slowly open your eyes. Shake out your fingers. Lift your head up if you need to. How do you feel? That's a big thing with me, is listening to that song. Again, one of the reasons why I listen to that song is somebody I look up to who is in the recon and MARSOC community, who is also, I believe, is in the Ranger community as well. Showed me that song. I listened to it the first time, meditated for about 10 minutes, fell over because I was exhausted mentally, and I realized that song just chilled me out. Hopefully that did that for you as well. Clears your mind. Never mind, I'm going to ask you. Those of us who've been in the military, put our bodies through some pretty trying times, right? Maybe you messed up and you were doing a scout sniper in dock, and you and your battle buddy had to carry the bone an additional mile because something happened, something dropped, right? and it's 3 o'clock in the morning, you have 20 miles to go, and you have to carry this extra 200-pound log on your back with your buddy. Maybe you did swim crawl, and now you have a little bit of fear of drowning, right? It's okay, you had the battle buddy with you. In 2008, I enlisted in the Marine Corps. Not to age anybody here. Again, you can laugh, it's okay. There you go. Some of it, there it goes, it's okay. 2008, I enlisted in the Marine Corps. I wanted to serve in the military my whole life. I used to watch these guys jumping out of Blackhawks into water. At the time, I didn't know what it was, but now I know it's like Alice packs attached to themselves, and they would go do their thing. But I would always wonder, like, why are these guys jumping with weights from the helicopters? Like, survival of the fittest, and like they just drown if they don't make it. I always wondered about what was going on. So I was like, you know what? Because to figure it out, I got to enlist. And that was one of my reasons why I joined the Marine Corps. Again, at the time, my ego was pretty high. I wanted to be one of the best. So, of course, at 17 years old, enlisted in U.S. Marine Corps as infantry. I served as an 0311 with 1st Battalion, 5th Marines, Alpha Company, 3rd Platoon. For about 2 years, we did a workup. The workup consisted, I'm sure most of you know who have completed a workup and deployments, just basic things from basic first aid to calling in a 9-line CASEVAC, things like that. Calling CAS, close air support, learning how to operate your weapon system, different weapon systems, things of that nature, right? There's a wealth of knowledge when it comes to combat in this room. There's probably more in this room right now when it comes to the military as far as knowledge, probably in most of Dallas-Fort Worth, which is saying a lot, because there's about 9.5 million people in DFW. I remember when I enlisted as an 0311, I was like, I want to basically put money where my mouth is. If I'm saying I'm going to protect the country, I'm actually going to do it. I want to be there when bullets are going overhead and bombs are blowing up. I want to be in those movies like, you know, that I watched growing up. How many of us can relate to that? Watching movies, and that's what the inspiration was to join, right? Sign that dotted line, here you go, Uncle Sam, that blank check. A big reason also that I joined was I wanted brothers. I'm the only male in my family by blood. I have one uncle by marriage. My grandpa's passed away. I have no male cousins, and I have no brothers. The brothers thing was what really, really got me. And I was like, well, shit. I grew up with my guys, you know, growing up, and now I'm going to join the military. It's like, you know, maybe I'll get brothers in. Maybe I'll get, you know, like these lifelong relationships that I see in the movies, Band of Brothers. Max, right? Talked about that yesterday. The Pacific, a little bit better, but whatever, it's okay. Again, you can laugh, it's all right. You don't have to, just because you're laughing, you don't have to keep it discreet. I know. I've been in that crowd before. I'm like, oh, I gotta keep it quiet. I don't want people to see me laugh. One of the best relationships I had was my roommate. And this is where we hit the heavy stuff, right? Lance Corporal Sean Michael Nicholas O'Connor. He was my roommate. Another guy in my squad was Lance Corporal Joe Jackson. He was my saw gunner. I was his A gunner. First, our roles were reversed later on in deployment. But eventually, I developed these relationships with these guys just as well as I'm sure most of you have with somebody in your life. You know somebody so well that you're sick and tired of them, right? I know that my roommate O'Connor, he was 6'2.5", wore a size 12 boot, and by God, it is probably one of the most foul-smelling things I've ever smelled in my life was his boots. His boots smelled so bad that I told him one day when we were field daying our room, I was like, dude, you need to put your boots outside. I'm not going to smell this crap right now, and I'm not going to be here whenever we get inspected and then we fail because your boots smell like something that has been decaying for the last 2,000 years. He's like, okay. Put them outside. The boots smelled so bad, somebody picked them up and threw them away. Not I promise you, that was not me. I did not throw them away. It was hilarious because we both racked out for the night, and all of a sudden we woke up, he was from 8th and I, so he was very traditional, which is the ceremonial part of the Marine Corps. And he's like, these boots were with me, you know, from boot camp. All of a sudden, one morning he wakes up and they're just, because they smelled so bad, they're gone. I thought that was hilarious. So he had to bring out his other boots. But it was things like that I knew of him. I knew that he was from Douglas, Wyoming. I knew that he had blue eyes that would turn a shade of green when we would go in the field because of the pigmentation. We were out so long in the field that we all got a little bit tanner. His eyes would change color. And it was a heavy thing to have a relationship as close as I did with him. During the workup, we did things, I'm sure just like most of us here, did things like hiking. We learned how to patrol, hand and arm signals. Everything we did in day, we did at night. Sound familiar, right? I'm sure most of us have done that. And because of that, again, the relationships grew so much in the field and also in the barracks and garrison, and also whenever we'd hang out in Liberty on our own time. Late 2010, we were doing our workup. Our last field up, we got word, hey, it's official, we're going to Afghanistan. No one knows where. We thought maybe Garmjer, maybe Herat, maybe Kabul. We don't know where exactly. And we got word we're going to Sangin. Has anyone ever heard of Sangin? Yes, no. Thanks, Logan. Sangin and Sangin. No one knew what Sangin was or where it was. And it was very ironic because it was just like the Pacific or just like the Band of Brothers when you were told that you were going to go to a certain area of operations and you're like, what the hell is that? I've never even heard of that in my freaking life. And with all the technology that we had at the disposal of our fingertips, no one knew about Sangin. And it was surreal to me. I was like, we're going to go fight somewhere that we don't even know about. I was like, this is so relatable to something about 75 years ago. March of 2011, we deployed. We were over in, I believe, Camp Leatherneck for a couple days, acclimated, and then we were in our AO, the Sangin, Afghanistan. We went to FOB Nole. At that time there, I remember my first thing. Again, this is where you can laugh. I talked to my team leader. I was like, hey, Corporal, I got to make a head call right now. You know, and he's like, okay, well, there's a hole in the wall. Go ahead and use the restroom. I was like, all right. So I have geared up. A little Lance Cooley Ceballos walked over there to use a head, and I thought all of a sudden, this is where I'm about to get myself shot. I was like, I'm putting myself in a hole here physically, and what if a sniper shoots at me? This is no joke. And I think that was the first epiphany I had in combat. I was like, I can get shot right now. And it was surreal to believe the fact that if I just, from using the bathroom, a part of me could be in Afghanistan physically if that sniper hit that one special spot, right? God, that was probably the most stressful bathroom calls I've ever made in my life. Fast forward a little bit, about a month or so, we started taking casualties. April 24th, Lance Corporal Joe Jackson, my saw gunner, was hit by an 8-pound IED, became a triple amputee, and was killed in action immediately. Throughout the deployment, we would sustain more casualties, a totaling of 191. And so for those who are familiar with Marine Corps infantry units, that's about 500 to 550 O3s or infantry combatants with about 300 to 400 logistics. So we had 191 casualties. We had 17 killed in action, 208 out of what, maybe 550, a little bit less than a 50% loss rate. From April to June, our platoon took another hit. June 12, 2011, O'Connor was killed. O'Connor was in an LPOP, a listening post, observation post. He was struck by a rocket that was a 1 in a million shot. Rocket went through the wheel well, and it impacted him in the driver's spot. EOD came, they checked it out after doing a BDA, battle damage assessment, and they're like, it could hit the tire, he'd be okay. It could have skimmed off the roof, he would have been okay. But for whatever reason, that 12, 14-inch gap between the tire and the wheel well, that rocket went through and things happened. It devastated me, right? I'm sure. It was hard. I remember I destroyed a chapel because I was upset. We sustained more casualties as our deployment continued. And then we came home. About a month later, after coming home, we had our memorial ceremony. And it was what our CO said is somber weather for a somber occasion. It was raining outside, not dark or heavy rain, but a light rain, heavy enough. The sky was gray, clouds are just rumbling. But yet every single Marine who made that deployment, whether physically okay, or they came back home with 3 missing limbs, made that memorial ceremony. You saw countless Marines in crutches, wheelchairs. Some people, one person was on a gurney, I believe. But yet they made that memorial ceremony. 17 battlefield crosses were outside on the parade deck. And the heavy thing was, the families of the fallen Marines were inside a building. And we're like, okay, they're here, they're here for the ceremony. Totally get it. And then my platoon sergeant, Staff Sergeant Myers at the time, comes up to me and one of my very, very, very close friends, Lance Corporal Passion, and he goes, hey, O'Connor's family's inside. I want you two to go talk to him. Freaked out. Freaked out. What the hell are you supposed to say? We're 21 years old. I turned 21 in Afghanistan. I didn't have a freaking beer until about 2 weeks ago. And then all of a sudden you're telling me I got to tell my best friend's parents and sister what happened? And we freaked out. What are you supposed to do? Pash and I looked at each other and we started saying, hey, Sassarn, we'll go haze ourselves up First Arms Hill. We'll go dig graves. We'll go put basically our rucks on with full gear, go draw weapons and go just haze the shit of ourselves. We'll do anything. What do we do wrong to deserve this? And I was like, what do we do? And he's like, you don't have to. You two knew him the best in the platoon. If you'd like to talk with his family, go ahead. And I'm like, son of a bitch. This platoon sergeant he fought in Fallujah in November of 04. He made another Iraq deployment to Ramadi, I believe in 2006. And he fought with us in Sangin in 2011. And I was like, this guy, I looked up to this guy. He was like a big brother to me. And I was like, fuck. I was like, okay. And he just said in a very calm voice. He wasn't yelling at us. He was old school. He didn't believe in administrative punishment. He was like, you fucked up. Let's go behind that building real fast in the shade and we'll fix this. Lord Almighty, I got a fair amount of those in my freaking day. But he told us, you don't have to if you don't want to. When he said it in that voice, I was like, God bless. Okay. We walked into the building. O'Connor was 6'2½". His dad was about 6'4", just a hair taller than him. His dad was just kind of walking around. I just picked him out like that. I'm sure most of us can pick out somebody like that. That means a lot to us. He sat down. I saw his mom, and I saw his sister right next to the mom. Pash and I walked up to them, introduced ourselves, and she's like, I know who you are. I know who you are. The mom, D. She's like, I know who you are. Sean used to talk about you all the time. I've seen pictures. He would take pictures of you in the field. He said he would sneak his phone down the field because at our level we weren't allowed to have our phones out there, but we still did, right? Got to rebel a little bit, the American way. And again, you can laugh. It's okay. We're having a little somber moment. It's okay. Enjoy yourselves, right? And she would say that Sean would show us pictures of us and talk about who each person was and their role. So she knew who Passion was. She knew who I was. And then we were like, just call me Zach. This is Emil. And she's okay, well, I'm D. And we're like, oh, okay. Small talk for a few minutes. We sat down. All of a sudden, she's like, yeah, great. How's the trip? Home, blah blah blah. Tell me about it. And all right, great. Small talk. And all of a sudden, it was, whew. And I was like, oh man. Things got a lot quieter for a split second. And she goes, all I remember was her just sitting like this. And she goes, I want you to tell me what happened to my son. And I remember her hand just doing that too. And then her eyes as blue as some of the clearest water in the freaking world. I looked at her. I was like, all I remember was my head was like, I kind of just went in sleep mode. What are you supposed to say? It was a difficult time, I'll tell you that much. I gave her and her husband and her daughter the best explanation that I could, without the most grotesque of details, obviously. We had the rest of the memorial ceremony. All 17 Marines, the platoon sergeants and squad leaders were called. And it was one of the highlights of my life. I can appreciate that now. And we'll get to that in just a little bit. After that, things started happening with me. Post-traumatic stress, I started being very, very adamant in my life. Depression, things like that. I'm sure a lot of us understand what post-traumatic stress. I don't need to explain it here. I think there's a community that has, an unfortunate but yet very, very in-depth understanding of post-traumatic stress and the effects of it. But I remember I started having dreams, started having nightmares, started having flashbacks, my anxiety would skyrocket. I would be depressed for freaking just big time, or swings at a time, like basically weeks and months at a time. 2012, tried suicide 4 times. Who's been there? Come on. Okay. I'm glad y'all are here. 3 times on my motorcycle, 1 time jumping off a bridge. Wasn't the best time of my life, right? It was fun going fast on my motorcycle, don't get me wrong, but I was waiting for that impact. I was waiting for just loud noise and just complete peace. It was painful. I was struggling a lot. I would cry. I would see Joe's face in the car as I would pass on my motorcycle, and I would see Sean's face. I had dreams, and they would just be staring at me. They wouldn't have a very negative facial expression. They would just be like, now what? And I was like, shit, now what? Okay. So I was like, all right, great. I met this girl. Maybe things will be better now. Maybe, I can talk to somebody. And, well, unfortunately, that wasn't the case. I did meet a woman. We did get married for a little while and did not work out. But out of it came, as Carl mentioned earlier, I have a daughter now. Where are my Clapton fans? Come on. Eric Clapton. Eric Clapton, where are they at? Yeah. So, as I am in 29 Palms, the base that everyone desires to be at, right? To be stationed in 29 Palms, good old Mojave Desert, right? Or Fort Irwin for you non-Marines. And I remember she texted me one time. She was like, hey, can you come to my bedroom? We got to talk. Okay, great. Mind my own business. Threw headphones in to walk to her bedroom. Last song I heard is I don't want to say Free Man, but last song that I heard as a complete single man was Layla by Eric Clapton, the acoustic live version, if you're curious. And all of a sudden, we found out we were pregnant. I was like, well, hey, what about Layla? And all of a sudden, yes, Layla popped out 9 months later, and that's how her name came about. During that time, her and I were, my ex-wife and I were married. We were over in Camp Lejeune at this point. This is late 2012. Our daughter was born December in 2013. We had another very, very significant family crisis happened, and it affected our marriage tremendously. It affected it so much that we divorced just a few months later after this event happened. And I felt that when I was dealing with PTSD and depression, that the only thing really that was keeping me here was my wife at the time, somebody I could really reach out to, somebody that I could relate to, someone that understood me because they went through similar things themselves. It was not the case when I came down to basically brass tacks. We ended up divorcing. I came home, and that started my process of being homeless for about 2 years, about a year and a half, 15 months. I was homeless with my daughter. We would sleep inside my truck. We'd sleep in a Walmart parking lot, friend's house, family's house. I didn't always agree with my family. I was very, very prideful of being a Marine, but most importantly, I felt that I was in pain. That pain overcame my PTSD, and it overcame my pride, and I basically was struggling. June 2021, 10 years after O'Connor was killed in action, I realized that I wanted to go see him. And I beat myself up because it took me 10 years to understand that I needed to go see my best friend. 10 fucking years. The last time I touched O'Connor was the day June 12, 2011, the day I put him in a body bag, the day I kissed him goodbye, the day I held his boot, the day that crew chief hopped out of that Huey and got mad at me because I wouldn't physically let go of O'Connor's boot. All I remember is the crew chief saying was, we got a Marine, he's coming home. And I was 20 years old. What the fuck do I say at that time? Excuse my language. And I remember I was holding on to O'Connor's boot, shaking, crying, having like this crazy out-of-body experience. And this crew chief was telling me, hey, we got him, he's safe, he's going home. And I remember letting go of him, shaking the crew chief, and the guy, he just flipped up his visor, and he's like, he's safe, he's going home. That was June 12, 2011. 10 years later, some freaking reason, I know now is O'Connor or Joe, one, two, put the thought in my head to go visit him. So I drove up to Douglas, Wyoming. My boss gave me a couple of days off, so thanks, Carl. He gave me a couple of days off. I drove up there. I saw the family on his 10th anniversary. Again, what do you say to that family? The family was very warm and welcoming towards me. They showed nothing but love towards me and my dog as well. I think more my dog. It's a chocolate lab, I don't know, whatever. But I saw him. I placed that quarter on his grave. I'm sure some of us here know what the coins mean on a grave. If you don't, I challenge you to ask around and understand what that means. I visited O'Connor, paid my respects, kissed his grave on the Sunday after his, basically the next day, June 13th, 2021, Sunday. I was like, you know what, I gotta go. I left. A couple of days went by as I was driving throughout the country, just enjoying my time, and I felt different. I felt that the pain was less colorful. It wasn't as vibrant. It wasn't as much in my face for some reason. Maybe it was closure. I'm not sure what the exact word is. Maybe Mrs. Hill, excuse me, back there can identify that more. But I don't know if it was closure or not. I'm still struggling with that a little bit. But I'll tell you this, it did make my sense of empathy and gratitude skyrocket. I knew that now that the 17 Marines that were killed in action and sank in Afghanistan during 1-5's deployment to 2011, I had to live a life worthy of their sacrifice. I had to understand that that was love, the root emotion of our lives. There's some books I've been reading with my superior, I guess you could say. Life, and one of the books was Life is Negotiation. And I try to think about that. What is life is negotiation? And I thought about, you know what, maybe life is honestly more of psychology. Right? Your thoughts are coming from somewhere, right? Your brain, your noggin, your dome, whatever, your grape, whatever you want to call it. But I thought that life was about love. And that's where I'm at now. Life is about love. But what's love? And I started thinking about that. I got to keep breaking it down. But I understood life is about love. And I understood that, with love comes empathy. Understanding others. Just because someone's going through a hard time doesn't mean to be rude to them, mean to them, things like that. I understood that I wasn't the only one going through things. But most importantly, I understood that the things I went through in my 20s have led me up to right here where I'm at right now. I struggle a lot. I'm sure I have my days too. I know I do. Maybe you do as well. But I'll encourage you to love others, to empathize with others. Not so much to sympathize and feel their emotions, just cry with one another just because they're upset. But understand what's going on behind the brain, behind the eyes. Understand that there is a problem, right? As Annette told me, basically, there's that thorn in your arm. And when you're going through these difficult times, you're pulling that thorn out of your arm. And you get so comfortable with that thorn being in your arm, you just put it back. But if you keep taking that thorn out, let that body heal, let that, whatever arm, your leg, whatever it is, you grow, you empathize, and you understand more of that. You had to go through that crap. I know it can be difficult. After that, I realized that I was exactly where I needed to be. I knew that I had to go through that crap, and I hated it. Flashbacks, nightmares, suicide attempts, depression, PTSD. I have 28 Marines that killed themselves since I've been home. And I realized, dude, we got to do something. And it's doing things like this. It's sharing my story. It's hopefully encouraging to share your story. Be vulnerable, to have humility, and understand that your story, by you opening up, can change somebody's life. But not only that, I'm sure that we've heard of toxic masculinity, right? Or toxic leadership in the military. I'll encourage you to be the freaking change, love others, to empathize with others, and see where they're coming from. And I know that everybody here's a leader. You stepped up to the plate, decided to come to VetXpo, whether you're from Kansas, maybe California, maybe Georgia for whatever reason. I don't know about Georgia. That's a Ranger thing, I guess. But I encourage you to love others. I encourage you to love others and empathize. It's such a big thing, and it's so absent from our world. Do that and be the change. Empathize and love others. Thanks, y'all. Appreciate it.
Don't run away yet. So we have your parting gift.
Oh.
And another coin. I know you've already got at least one, but I want you to give that to somebody else. Okay. Who thought they were going to hear a combat veteran talk about love today?
Oh, shit. Yeah.
I did. So one of the things that, here's your parting gift. One of the things that I think is important for all of us to know and realize is that love is a choice. Right? It's not a chemical. It's not something that just happens to you. It's something that you have to choose. And sometimes you have to choose every single day. Sometimes you have to choose every single hour. But it is a choice. And Zach, just this last month, got his Burris Institute certification as a Burris practitioner, which means he now is certified to do functional emotional fitness coaching, which we call the VetStar program. But the VetStar program is all about choice. It's all about where are you going, where are you now, how do you make the choices to get from one place to another, and that's what it's all about. So I'm going to open it up. We got 3 minutes. If anybody has a question that they would like to ask Zach before we let him off the hook.
I think we're good. Questions? No?
I don't have a question. I just want to say how proud I am.
Thanks, Sergeant Major.
Bryce has a question.
What was your favorite stop other than the destination on your trip?
Leipzig, something. That, thank you. Yeah, because they had 16% alcohol content in their beers, and I'm not a big drinker anymore. But after that rough deployment, God, we all needed just a drink. And I think we all drank maybe half of a beer, maybe some of us drank one, and then passed out on the plane for the next like 18 hours. So it was a short ride. So that beer over in Germany. Anybody else? Boom.
I just want to say it's been a pleasure watching you over the years, and to watch you stand up and speak. You're a good speaker, and the story you tell is an important one, and the way you tell it is invaluable to many people. Thank you.
Thanks, Boom. Appreciate it, buddy.